Hey, good afternoon, folks. The best ChathamNC Sports Roundup live stream. Well, I think it's the only one here every Thursday. Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal. I got Asheebo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record on. He's the sports writer. He's the one who's going to be doing most of the talking. And we got to step up our game today because I found out from Asheebo his mom now watches this live stream. So he wouldn't tell me what she told him, but she said we need to add more graphics. So we're going to start doing that a little bit more starting this week and hopefully get better and better with that. We're going to run down. Here's the agenda: Friday night football games from this past week, then the games coming up tomorrow. We're going to talk about the football power rankings, or last game of the season, except for Seaford. They'll have one next weekend. And then, of course, Asheebo will round up what he's got in the Chatham News and Record newspaper. It came out today. Asheebo's Athlete of the Week. We'll talk about the volleyball regionals. Only one of the Chatham County Seaforts, the only team left in there right now. Cross country. There's some competition coming up on Saturday. We'll talk about soccer, tennis, anything else, and then we'll wrap up as to where we're going to be the rest of the. Let me get rid of this. Let's go into Asheebo. Let's start off. What happened in high school football in Chatham County? There was only two games that I think anyone in Chatham County was really interested in this past Friday. Go.
Yeah, so football in Chatham County, starting with Northwood versus Chatham Central. Northwood got the big win over Chatham Central in that one, 62-0. And in that one, I mean, like we said, it was just, like we said earlier, kind of a tune-up game for Northwood. A chance for Chatham Central to get another chance to go out, improve before the end of the regular season. And 7 different Chargers scored in that football game. We had a 52-yard touchdown from Antoine Brewington on the first play from scrimmage. And I mean, even seeing defensive lineman AJ Rome Mason got in on some touchdown action with a rushing touchdown there. And then Robert Tripp, of course, Leo Mortimer also got in the end zone. I think Bo Harvey had a pick six also in the first quarter. So, yeah, they piled it on early. They kept their foot on the gas and finished strong in that game. So, and then going into Seaforth, they went up against Jordan Matthews on their senior night. Big win for Seaforth, 41-0, led by Duncan Parker, who got the job done on the ground. And yeah, I mean, actually a big story we got from that Seaforth game, and Gene was there as well. We had Alex Vargas, a senior for Seaforth, who suffered a really bad working injury last year. I think he was working towards getting a car, so he was working on roofing, and he fell through the roof and broke both of his legs. Went through the rehab, of course, this past year. Comes back this year, and he scores his first ever touchdown against Jordan Matthews on senior night. And his dad, Antonio Vargas, was there. He spoke to us a little bit, and just a really cool moment for the Vargas family and for Seaforth football. With the way the season has gone this season, they're still trying to fight their way into the playoffs here at the end of the year. But to have that happen on senior night was really a special feeling, and it made the whole night feel really memorable, especially considering that was Seaforth's first senior class that started there and played all 4 years. And then also from Friday night, well, actually those are the only 2 games we had. We had 2 county teams. So yeah, so for Northwood, going back to what they have this Friday, they're going to host Hope County in a non-conference game. They added this one due to the extra week that Hurricane Helene provided for the rest of the state. And yeah, Hope County's 2-8 coming into this game. The record not great coming in, but Hope County is a 4A program, and Northwood, they played 2 higher classification teams to start the year and lost both of those games. So Northwood will still have to bring some focus into this one, not look at the record of their opponent, and still play some high level football. They want to finish out this regular season on a good note. And I mean, for them, this could also help with the RPI standings, playing a higher classification team that has played some other good teams on their schedule. That could getting a big win here, especially a big win could really kind of boost them up in what we've seen in the RPI standings already here. And right now, Northwood is sitting at 25, so they're in good standing, but could be better for a better seed. They're looking like they're going to have to travel for that first round.
Yeah, I was going to say there's your standings. And look, folks, I got this graphics thing. Hold on, let me see if I can do it this way. If something's going to happen, I guess not. Okay, well, it's sitting in front of both Asheebo and I, but there's your football standings. Asheebo, we talked about this last week. If you look at it, what's the chances of Northwood getting into the playoffs, or is tomorrow's game an important game for them to win?
Yeah, like I said, I think Northwood is in good standing to make the playoffs, and there's a very good chance that they'll get in. I think even if they lose tomorrow, I don't see them dropping way out of the top 32 in the RPI standings and out of the playoff field. So I think, at the 25th spot right now is the focus is finishing strong, I think, for Northwood and playing to improve that seeding a little bit because, like we said, they're going to have to travel for that first round game. And now it's putting yourself in position, to have the best draw you can for that first round matchup. So, like I said, Hope County is a 4A school who's played other 4A teams, other good teams on their schedule as well, in a pretty stacked conference. I think a big win for Northwood could help give them a boost in that RPI standings and maybe move up a couple spots when they do the seeding in a couple weeks.
Well, I was gonna say that's good to hear. And again, folks, I'm playing around with it. There's been a software upgrade, a little squirmy, but we're working with it, so we will get better. And I apologize to Sheebo's mom right there. All right, let's see if I can get this one right. I am going to try this where we're going to talk about everybody's favorite. So let me try to see if I can't get this up here correctly. And here we go. All right. Everybody's favorite. And there we go. Boom. Got it. All right. Asheebo, power rankings. Oh, man, I need to do that so it pops up one by one. But, hey, let's talk about your power rankings.
I mean, yeah, it's been pretty much the same with 1 and 2 all year with Northwood and Seaford. Jordan Matthews and Chatham Central, we had them switched out a little bit in the middle of the season because we saw Chatham Central was playing some pretty good football compared to what they looked like last year. And of course, Jordan Matthews was dealing with injuries in some of those games where it took some hard losses. But Jordan Matthews, they got some players back over the past couple of weeks. We saw Jakari Blue in the backfield. We saw Rashad McSwain back. So they have some guys that can still do some things for them that we saw a little bit on Friday against Seaford, but you're still missing Namir Wiley, Kenneth Dula. Those people, those guys are really dynamic and really athletic and can make some plays down the field that we've seen a little bit this year too. It's really hurting Jordan Matthews, but this season they did get the head-to-head win over Chatham Central. So as the season closes, we got to give them the nod there at the 3 spot. And of course, like we said, Chatham Central, the 4 team, pretty much for most of the year. But like we said, they've played a lot better football this year than they did last year, and they found some things that work with Brooks Albright at quarterback and Nick Glover and Luke Gaines out at receiver. Of course, Brooks and Glover are 2 players that they can potentially get back next year as they're not graduating yet. But yeah, Chatham Central, like I said, making great improvements this year.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the power rankings up there. Jordan Matthews, at that game, when I was on their side taking pictures, they've just had a bunch of injuries. And, folks, that's been the story for several weeks. And I think hopefully next year all the players will be back and healthy. And Chatham Central, as Asheebo mentioned, there's potential for next year because all these players have gotten 1 year's worth of experience. So that's good to know. All right, that is this week's Power Rankings. We'll have another after this weekend, after tomorrow's games, and that's going to be next Thursday. So I think we're done with the wrap-up on football, and so now Asheebo can go into what stories he's got coming out in the Chatham News and Record coming out today. So if you subscribe, you should be at your doorstep. If you don't subscribe, you can go and pick it up at a store. So let me do this. Maximize. There we go. All yours.
This week in the paper, we have, of course, our roundups for football and fall sports. Fall sports, we have some action on boys soccer, of course, and we'll get into that later. And then some results from the cross country regionals that happened last weekend. And then we also have our story from C4 senior night football game where they beat Jordan Matthews 41-0. And then we have our volleyball playoff roundup highlighted by C4 advancing to their first regional final, which is today. And we'll get a little bit more into that as well. And then it's in the paper now, but also it coming online tomorrow. We'll have a story on what Jake Powell and Jaron Stevenson, former Chatham County basketball stars, did in their preseason exhibition games at their respective programs. We saw some great things from Drake Powell against Memphis, Johnson C. Smith, and in the blue-white game. And then, of course, we saw some great three-point shooting and some great defense from Jaron Stevenson in Alabama's games against Wake Forest and Memphis. So you can read more about those in the paper. And like I said, it will be online tomorrow.
All right. What do you want to, I mean, it's one of those days. Okay. What's up next you want to talk about?
What's up next? I want to get into athlete of the week because I think it's going to lead very well into our volleyball discussion. So athletes, we got co-athletes of the week this week, both from C4's volleyball team. Maris Honeycutt, Josie Valgas get the nod this week, and it's because they've hit some pretty big milestones during the playoffs. Josie Valgas recorded her 1,000th career kill in the win over Farmville Central in the second round. And then just days later, Maris Honeycutt gets her 2,000th career assist against Wallace Rose Hill. And it is funny because both of them, have been racking up the assists together this season. And we'll get into that a little bit more of what they did against Aiden Grifton. But yeah, I mean, just two huge accomplishments for those two. Of course, Honeycutt senior getting 2,000 there, and Valgas getting 1,000 career kills as a junior is a big accomplishment as well. So those two lead the team in assists. I think Honeycutt is first, Valgas is second, and yeah, they've been phenomenal for C4 volleyball as they're making this run and trying to make their first state championship appearance as well as they make their first regional appearance tonight.
Yeah, there's a picture of the two of them, and again, folks, we're improving in this process. But there's a picture of the two of the ladies in Saturday's game that they won. So those are your athletes of the week. Hey, Asheebo, is this your first co-athletes of the week, or have you done any co-athletes of the week previously?
I think this might be my first one. I think this might be the first co-athlete of the week.
There's good reason for that. All right. So those are your athletes of the week. What do you want to get into next? Soccer, or do you want to get into volleyball?
Let's get into volleyball. I think that's the biggest story for today. If you guys have been keeping up with Chatham County sports this week, and yeah, number 4 C4 in the 2A East bracket, they're in the regional final against number 3 Manio. And man, this is going to be a really big matchup tonight. I'm making a drive out there in a couple of hours to see this one in person. And against Aiden Grifton, I mean, C4, really got the upset against number 1 Aiden Grifton, and that was really just kind of the best player stepping up and doing what was needed to get out of those close sets that they were in. I think every set except for the final one that C4 won in the end, 25-19, was decided by at most 3 points. So back and forth action in all the sets. And C4 really just had the depth and the talent with Kira Rosenmarkle, Allie Forbes, like we said, Josie Valgas, Maris Honeycutt. They have a lot of really good, impactful players that they can go to make plays in those crucial moments at the end. And just looking at the stats, Allie Forbes, 23 kills, 4 service aces in that game on Tuesday. Valgas, 13 kills, 27 digs, and 25 assists in that game. Rosenmarkle had 12 kills. Honeycutt had 10 kills and 21 assists as well. So those 4 are the only ones in double digits in kills, and also like we said in the stats and saw in that game. I mean, they made impacts in other aspects of the game as well. And yeah, so against Manio tonight, I mean, I think if they bring that same depth and high level play across the board. I mean, C4 is looking like a really hard team to beat, and it looks like it doesn't matter where they play. I mean, they went 2 hours away to Aiden-Grifton, the number one team in the 2A East bracket, and beat them 3-1. So, yeah, I think the Hawks, they should feel pretty good going in tonight with what they've done this season, the domination they've showed, even in, like we said, those close sets. They've been finding ways to win those sets and come out on top. And they have that experience. I mean, also from last year's deep playoff run, they've been here before, used to having to make those long drives out east. And so this is their chance to finish the deal and break through for their first state championship appearance this year.
Let me ask you this question, because high school OT was at that game that they won the other night, and I read through some of the stories that they put out, story and video on it, but they're thinking, and actually I think it's not, I don't remember the exact quote, but their feeling was the winner of that game had a very good chance to show up at the championship game at Reynolds Coliseum on Saturday. What's your feelings about that? Do you agree about that, or what's your sense? Again, haven't seen the team and seeing how they've performed, and the fact that they did win this last game.
I mean, I really like that that prediction, because, like we said, Aiden-Grifton was the number one team. Everyone could see they were by far looked at as the best team in 2A East, and whoever was going to win that game, of course, was going to be the favorite, and C4 came out on top, dethroning them at their spot. I think for C4, it will be interesting against Manio tonight, because I forgot to mention that I think last year C4 beat Manio on the way to the fourth round, I think, in last year's playoffs. So there's a little bit of familiarity between the teams there. But like I said, I mean, C4, they added Valgus to their roster that was already deep last year, and we saw what the team did last year in the playoffs as well, just with those girls, and it brought pretty much the whole team back. Added Valgus, who's still only a junior, the TCU commit, who's very talented, and I mean, they just have a lot across the board that makes it hard to beat. It's kind of hard to find holes in that team and find gaps, because they have so many players, even outside of those four, that core that can make plays and play the right way. And they have great coaching staff that have poured all the energy that they can, all the resources they can, into making that team play their best volleyball down the stretch here in the playoffs. And I mean, when you look at, like we said, what they've done this season, the competition they went up against during the regular season, like Cardinal Gibbons, East Chapel Hill, and Chapel Hill, I mean, they're ready. They're really prepared for this moment.
Yeah, well, thanks for getting into that. The other interesting thing about it is Northwood actually lost to Manny on the first round of the volleyball playoffs when they went out there in the first round. So that's kind of a connection back to Chatham County. If they win tonight, they will show up at Reynolds Coliseum on Saturday. I think when we texted back and forth with PJ, he mentioned the times. Usually, we don't have the specific time yet. They're usually 11, 2, 5, and 8. And since this is 2A, it would probably be a 2 o'clock game. However, I will tell folks, what you need to do is you need to follow Asheebo on X at Asheebo R38, so that since he's going to be there, he'll be able to get you that information live, and then we'll probably have information tomorrow as to the specific time and who they'll be playing against if tonight on Saturday. I will tell folks that if you have never been to Reynolds Coliseum, or you have been to Reynolds Coliseum, it's definitely a great venue for high school championship games. So if they show up playing there on Saturday, you know what? It's worth the drive out there to Raleigh to see it at Reynolds. If you haven't been in Reynolds since the old Reynolds, they've done a really nice job of upgrading it and redesigning it, so you will enjoy it. All right. Anything else? We got Asheebo on volleyball before we get into soccer.
Yeah, and we could just quickly mention some of the rounds that we didn't get to in last week's stream. Of course, Roxborough lost in the second round to Roxborough Community. Woods Charter lost in the second round to Roxborough Community, 3-1. And of course, great season for Woods Charter. Went undefeated in conference play, and for a second straight year. And they had 10 straight 3-0 sweeps leading up to that loss in the second round of the playoffs. So nothing to hang their hats on. Just another great year, even with losing a really great player last offseason. And yeah, I think we already talked about some of the first round exits last week as well. So yeah, I think we're all good for volleyball now.
All right. Well, in that case, let's talk about soccer. Let me see if I can't bring up the soccer rankings. So let me hit on this. And folks, I'm going to review this video so that I'll figure out how I can improve this. But again, I am a believer in the Scrum method, which is basically try stuff out to the point where it starts working the way it should be working. And let me see here, pictures. Soccer rank. Yeah, there's the Mid Carolina Conference. Let's get that up there. And there you go. All right, you want to start off the conversation on soccer while I leave this up for a little bit, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in soccer, isn't there?
Oh yeah, it's a whole bunch of going on. And before this week started, I was actually following along that top three, well, actually top four race there in the Mid Carolina 1A2A conference, because Seaforth was still in the running for possibly getting that third place spot before the week started. And we talked to their head coach, Giovanni Viana. That was like one of their goals that they wanted to accomplish this season, was getting at least third place in the conference. And going through, what they had to do before the week started, I think they had to win both of their conference games this week, but they also had to get Graham to lose both, and had Graham just won one, which I think they did. Well, actually, no, Graham did lose both games, but Seaforth lost to Jordan Matthews on Monday, which pretty much knocked them out of the running for third place. So, yeah, Jordan Matthews in the second place spot, which is looking like they're going to be finishing in that spot, which I think might be the first time they haven't finished on top of the Mid Carolina 1A2A conference as in its existence. I'm not sure. I can look through the history right quick. Starting in 2021, they finished first in the Mid Carolina 1A2A conference. 2022 also first. And then, of course, last year they were also first. So, yeah, this will be the first time that, they've been in this conference that they didn't finish first, which, like we said all year, Jordan Matthews, this is a rebuild year, but they did pick up two pretty good wins, in conference to finish off the year, beating Seaforth 4-2 on Monday. And then on Wednesday, yesterday, they took down Graham 3-1. Of course, Graham, was right behind them at the third spot in the conference. So still a very strong finish for Jordan Matthews, 10-2 in the conference. And looking at the RPI standings, Jordan Matthews is at 13. Still a pretty good placement there for how their season went. We got Seaforth still, in good playoff position at 27 in the RPI standings. And Northwood is sitting right outside at 35 there on the 2A East side. So, yeah, the boys soccer season definitely came down to a very entertaining finish, I would say, because, the way it first started in the middle of the season, we kind of thought Jordan Matthews was going to run away with the conference once again, but Southeast Alabama stuck around, stole one from Jordan Matthews in that second meeting. And yeah, they took over the top spot in the conference, putting the Jets in a little bit of a different situation than they felt in a while. So, yeah, I think everyone should be excited to go into the boys soccer playoffs to see how Jordan Matthews can do with this team. Last year, like we said, deep run and nearly made the regional final there, but came up short. So we'll see, with that younger team led by Francisco Ibarra, Angelo Vera, could they make it back there and possibly build on what they did last year? Not sure, but there always could be surprises with the Jets, because, like we know, they've always been prepared for that moment in the playoffs and playing in those high pressure situations.
Got anything else on soccer before we move on to the other sports?
Not really. Yep. Other than Woods Charter also looks in good playoff standing. After a pretty good week there, holding on to that fourth spot in the Central Tar Heel 1A conference, and in the 1A East RPI standings, they're at 26 too. So, like you said, still in good standing to make the postseason. They'll just be a lower seed and likely have to travel in that first round.
Yeah, and Chatham Central's pretty much out of it, aren't they? Or is it Chatham
Yeah,
Charter?
Chatham Charter. Yeah, Chatham Charter.
Chatham Charter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Let's keep moving on. And again, folks, I will watch this over and work on getting this better for next time. All right.
Yeah. So, Gene, do you want to go into? We can go into cross country because we have some big things happening in the cross country. Yep. Jack Anstrom and Seaforth once again dominating the 2A East, the 2A Mid East regional meet. And let me pull up the results here. But yeah, I mean, Anstrom, he wins his third straight Mid East 2A Mid East regional title in that meet. And then 1 second, I'm sorry, I had everything pulled up. Okay. Yeah, like I said, Jack Anstrom got his third straight 2A Mid East regional title. And then the boys team for Seaport as a whole, they get their second straight regional championship as well. You had Will Quickie finishing right behind Anstrom in that race. And then they also had Samuel Neal, the freshman, who's been really, really good for them this year. Senior Henry McFall, all finishing in the top 10 of that race. So, you know, as a team, they definitely had the best performance out of all the county teams in the Mid-East Regional. And yeah, just to go through, I mean, all of our counties qualifiers for the state championship meet this Saturday, which will be at the IBM Redmond Sports Complex in Kernersville. And then, of course, 2A, the 2A band will get started at 9 on Saturday, and the girls will get started at 10:20. And then also on Saturday, the 1A boys will get started at 2 p.m. and the 1A girls at 3:20. So here's all of our qualifiers. On the 1A boys side, we have Taurus Price and Adam Reese, both from Chatham Charter. And as a team, the Woods Charter boys will be there as well. And then for the 1A girls side, we had Woods Charter girls teams qualifying for state, which of course will be Sydney Beatty, Grace Murphy, Anna Peeler, Sophia Rodriguez, Dara Sudhir, Dana Sudhir, and Michaela Valentine. On the 2A boys side, of course, Seaforth qualified for state there. And we got also some Northwood athletes qualifying individually. Brian Krebs and Jordan Wiley from the Chargers will be representing Northwood at the meet. And then some other Seaforth runners for the boys too. London Crowling, Will Lippers, and Waylon Vowles will join McFall, Samuel Neal, and Anstrom as well, and Quickie. And then for the 2A girls side, Seaforth, second place, they qualify for state. Northwood also qualified for state. So that includes Andrea Angeles Morales from Northwood, Adina Campbell from Northwood, Penelope Ferris from Northwood, and of course, Gabby Gita, Sydney Gray, Julia Hall, Ashley Perry, all from Northwood as well. On the Seaforth side, that's Cadence Bazemore, Natalia Davis, Sasha Helmer, Joanna Jimenez, Emily Jump, Catherine Leonard, and Claire Morgan. So plenty of runners representing Chatham County in the state championship meet this Saturday in Kernersville. So yeah, we should be and for a treat, hopefully, with some state champions. Maybe Anstrom could win his third cross country boys championship, and I think he will be this NCHSAA's fifth three-time boys cross country champion if he does achieve that on Saturday. So we'll be looking out for that as well.
Yeah, a whole bunch of activity. Now, the times again, you said the 2A boys are in the morning, 2A girls are a little bit late. Can you run those times over for folks? Because if you want to, you can run out to Kernersville and watch them compete.
Yep, we have the 2A boys starting at 9, and then the girls starting at 10:20 a.m. And then on the 1A boys will get started at 2 p.m. and the 1A girls will follow that at 3:20.
All right. So it could be a busy day because if those guys are competing in the mornings and early afternoons, and if Seaforth wins the volleyball game tonight, they'll be over in Reynolds probably at 2 o'clock. So, folks, a busy Saturday. And you got cross country one way, and you've got volleyball the other way. So we've got our fingers crossed that Seaforth will do well today. Again, let me see if I can't pop this up because I want folks to know. There we go. There's the information on Asheebo. If you're not on X, get on X. Asheebo's driving what? It's like a 12-hour drive. No, it's not. It's a 4-hour drive to Manio from here. And he's not flying, so he's driving. But there's his X name on there, Asheebo R38. And if you haven't followed him, I will let you know. Asheebo will post text, and he also posts pictures. And I am sure that if they win, we will see some videos as well because he does a good job with it, and the players are familiar with him and don't mind talking about it, especially if they win. All right. Anything else we need to touch on, Asheebo?
Yeah, before we go, I just wanted to also mention we have a state championship watch in girls tennis as well. The Chatham Charter girls tennis team, the number 2 team in the 1A East bracket, will be playing at number 1 Roxborough Community on November 5th for the regional final and the 1A East side. So Chatham Charter wins that. They will be making the trip to the state championship. And this is their second straight regional appearance because you guys remember last year they made it there, I think, as a 10 seed and played against 8-seeded Voyager Academy and lost that one. So we'll see if they could win it this time around and have another county team representing, of course, the county in the state championship for girls tennis dual team.
All right. Now, you said your mom watches on YouTube. Is that right?
I think that's what she said.
Okay. She watched you live?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Miss Rojas, because I can see that there is somebody watching on YouTube, so that's probably your mom. And look, he's doing a good job. Me, not so much. I gotta again play around with this stuff some more. You're going to be at the game tonight. I haven't figured out where I'm going to be tomorrow. I may split the JM game and the Northwood.
Looks like we lost connection, everyone. Give Gene a second to get back on before you might have to end it.
I'd like to thank